This week on the Kayak Fishing Show, we're in the Amazon, baby. We are chasing after big peacock bass and having a great time. Stick around, man. This is an awesome show. Woo! The Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you by Seagar, the inventor and perfecter of fluorocarbon fishing lines and leaders. It's a mission to get here. It took me 30 hours of travel to get here, but totally worth it. Peacock Bass Expeditions got it really dialed in. They met us at the airport, guided us through the small airport to get on a float plane, and once you're here, you really don't have to touch a thing. It's full service. They're grabbing your gear for you. They're dealing with your rods. They really took great care of everybody on this trip. Well, we got our first afternoon here on the Amazon. Flew in on a float plane this morning, and now we're gonna spend the rest of the afternoon kind of sorting this thing out, getting a feel for this fishery. I'm really excited. Someplace I've always my entire life wanted to come and fish, so I'm just so stoked about this trip. Look how pretty that fish is. Hit right up on the bank, wrapped around a tree. Whew, good fun, man. I can imagine what a big one's like. That was tough.
I was about to trade the fly rod for the bait caster for a little bit, just to try those new propeller baits that we got. And the guy took the rod and he's actually tuning the propeller, which is actually pretty neat. Not something I would have thought about doing, you know. I just took it out of the box. I was gonna use it. Gracias. We are in the Amazon fishing for peacock bass and anything else exotic that wants to bite. We are in the Kayak River, which is a tributary of the Rio Negro River, the main artery feeding the Amazon. I always wanted to come to Brazil to fish, and I have a lot of friends that have done it in the past, and I heard the stories about the size and the way these fish fight. For many people, it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and it's definitely a must-do if you're a serious angler.
I'm just working around all these trees. The nice thing is they're fairly straight up and down, so you can kind of cast in between them. We're hearing a really big fish or something back up inside the trees. It's just like crashing in there. Wow, exciting.
Well, today was first day here. We fished half a day. Jim got a few fish. I got a barracuda-looking freshwater fish. Anyway, so we're gonna call it quits before it gets too dark, and I'm gonna get something to eat. Hopefully, I'm starving.
That guy is a predator right there. We are having some fresh piranha.
Yeah, I heard piranha was good, and this is amazing. So good. There's still more meat to be found, though.
If you look at this face and the way that mouth opens, it's freaking alien right there. The Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you by Seagar, the inventor and perfecter of fluorocarbon fishing lines and leaders. Ray Marine, simply superior. Jackson Kayak, outdoor to the core. Yak Attack, make it yours. Kokatat, manufacturing paddle gear in Arcata, California for more than 50 years. Werner, a great fishing paddle is a great paddling paddle, and that's a Werner paddle. It's our first full day. What a dream come true. Seriously, this is checking off a box here, man. Coming to the Amazon and fishing in these beautiful waters. Let's hope we can get some big fish. Oh, that followed me right there. He just came up twice. So one thing I'm finding really beneficial where I'm getting most of my hits is way back underneath these branches. So having a topwater lure like this one, this TA crossover, this thing skips really well. So I can shoot it in low, kind of at the front of the branches, and it'll hit and skip and go all the way back. So it takes a little bit of practice getting that technique so it hits and skips, but that's pretty much where I've been getting all my hits, is when I've really shot it all the way back, or when I throw it over a limb like that. There's a lot of times where you get these lures wrapped around these branches, and if you sit there and just go real slow and tug on it, you usually end up catching. But if you get it right where you can see it, where it's just over the branch, and then give it a quick snap, it'll come right out. So if you go slow, the hook's gonna catch on the top of the branch. So you get it so it's just dangling, and then give it a quick jerk, and it just kind of pendulums it out. And a lot of times you'll get it out of there. Believe me, I've had a lot of practice. Oh, I launched that into the tree. Oh man. When you're casting into heavy structure and branches and everything else as much as we are, your leader eventually gets whittled down. So I make myself a longer leader and then just keep chopping it down because you want to retie. It's getting frayed up. So got my Seagar Premier fluorocarbon, and it really holds up well to this. So because it's such heavy cover, I'm using 50 pound. I wish I had a cast counter because man, we've made a lot of casts today. Yeah. I think one thing that's really important when you're fighting these fish is having your equipment set up right. You really actually want to be fishing a pretty tight drag because these things will run up around a branch. There's no reason to give them line because the kayak is moving so easily. So many of these times I've hooked a fish and I've wound myself right to the tree that they're wrapping themselves in. You need to be able to wind fast, keep tension on that thing, and try to get out of there as quick as possible. Don't let them have any line. Wow, you can see what I mean, how you get pulled into here. You better be fishing a tight drag if you hook into a big fish. There's no way you're gonna land it because this is a small fish. I'm just gonna do a quick release on him. There we go. But I toss this way back in this pocket and lock to drag and just grind on it. He's still got wrapped up in a branch over here. Tight drag, wind fast. It makes these small fish really fun. Oh! Being attacked by bees here. So yeah, fish really heavy drag, high gear ratio reel that you can really wind on that thing. And like I said, you're pretty much gonna wind yourself to the fish.
Jeez, go away.
I don't know, they say there's a bee shortage in the world. There's not a bee shortage here. Damn it. Freaking bugs.
It seems like the moment you get here, the moment you go out to fish, you get 2 bees assigned to each person.
It's the weirdest thing is as soon as you slow down, you immediately have a couple of them buzzing around your head. And they generally don't sting you, they don't do anything, but they're right here around your head driving you nuts.
These fish, they're very aggressive, but they're also snobs. We would get a bite and a big blow up, and you know, I would pick up the fly sometimes and land it back down, and it's like the fish was never there. They won't come back.
That was that same spot I got blown up on earlier. Come on. How can they miss it? Woo! Well, I've had a little bit of frustration because I've had a lot of blow-ups that they just weren't coming up and actually getting this thing in their mouth. This guy committed to it. Another peacock bass, but a different species. So you can see this one, unlike the other one that had the couple of big spots, this one's covered with small spots. What an exciting fish to catch when they're hitting that topwater like that. Settle down. Ooh, what a pretty fish these are. That light on there. Beautiful fish. Tiny, but beautiful.
So there are 3 different species. There is the paca, which is kind of like the darker peacock bass with the dots. And there's the butterfly, which is the most common one. And azul, that's actually the one with the stripes. We saw a lot more butterfly and paca than the last one I mentioned, but luckily enough, we actually landed some quality fish, some good fish, a lot of them.
All right. Good fun, variety. At least they're coming out, seem a little more aggressive now.
These fish, once they bite, they're freight trains. I mean, they fight hard. They want to get you in the branches, they want to get you in the trees and get that fly out of their mouth. They're very smart.
Well, it's not as big as I thought. He hit like a freight train though. Another butterfly peacock bass, right up under those branches. Skipped it up in there. Woo! They're tough fish, man. I can imagine when you catch a really big one, they gotta be really tough because they love to run right back around those branches. We chose to bring the Jackson Kayak Coosa HD. I don't think we could have picked a better boat. It's got every feature you would need for this fishery. I mean, it's maneuverable, it's standable, and it paddles pretty good. I'm really stoked we brought this boat on this trip.
Well, we're doing a little change of lures right now. I'm getting some advice from the guide. I was throwing some poppers on fly this morning. Not very productive, but only had good action. But for some reason, it didn't seem to want to get a bite. So I'm gonna switch to the bait caster for a little while, just to hopefully catch a fish, boost up my confidence, and continue through the day. And it looks like he's gonna pick a jig. He thinks that's a good option right now. I always like to mingle with the guides, the locals. I like to learn the language as much as I can. I like to learn about their culture, what they like, where they go, what they eat, what kind of music they listen to, how they dance. And that to me is almost as important as the fishing. Obrigado or obrigado?
Obrigado.
Obrigado. Obrigado. And I can go to a lot of places and fish and land a lot of fish. But if at the end of the day I don't talk to anybody and I don't learn anything new about people, that's just not enjoyable to me. And that's the kind of thing I like to include in all of my trips. And I call that the organic experience. You know, you want to make sure that you learn as much as you can in a very short period of time to make your trip worth it.
There you go. I guess I made the right decision by switching.
Well, we're kind of wrapping up our first day on the water. Our first full day on the water, anyway. And a little bit of a learning curve, trying to figure out what works for us. And man, really working on casting accuracy, because you got to get your cast right up underneath these tree limbs, and we've caught a lot of trees. Missed a bunch of fish, but I've also landed quite a few, so super fun day, man. I mean, we're in the Amazon. I mean, what more could we ask? Yeah, that is very much like a barracuda, isn't it? Look at those teeth. Damn, he's slimy.
The Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you by Ray Marine, simply superior. Werner, a great fishing paddle is a great paddling paddle, and that's a Werner paddle. Seagar, the inventor and perfecter of fluorocarbon fishing lines and leaders. Yak Attack, make it yours. Standard Horizon, nothing takes to the water like Standard Horizon. Siegler Reels, delivering the highest quality fishing reels, period.
Well, today we brought the kayaks with the boat and dragged them for a couple of hours upriver away from the lodge. So very remote. Not that the other places weren't remote, but we are now way up here. And trying to find a place where maybe there's some bigger fish that want to play. I made one cast on my Soft Magic swimmer, and the tail got removed. Likely a piranha. I just made a second cast, and it bit off more of the tail. So now I've just got like a head, and they're not getting anywhere near the hook. So I don't think I'll be throwing soft plastics up here. Oh, here we go. That's slow sinking. What's this one?
One of the biggest lessons I can share with you from this trip to Brazil is the importance of using high quality line and leader, particularly when you're dealing with the tough fish you have here in the Amazon.
This is one of these weird freshwater barracuda looking things.
Many of these fish are very toothy, and you're in really heavy cover. And that's why I've been using Seagar's Smackdown braid in 50-pound test. And then I use a top shot of 50-pound Seagar gold label fluorocarbon. You're just not gonna find a tougher or more abrasion resistant fishing line.
You know, starting off the first day's fishing, a lot of blow-ups, a lot of misses. I didn't want to go away from this walk the dog lure because I was getting blow-ups. So what could I do to try and get them to stick? And basically what I was doing is, instead of doing a real fast walk the dog, I slowed it down, a little bit longer pull, which gives you a longer sweep. So you're staying in the strike zone a little bit longer. And the other thing I'm doing is, normally when I walk the dog, if I get hit, I will just keep walking the dog. If it hits it and misses, I will just keep walking the dog. And I wasn't getting return hits. So what I started doing was, if I got hit and missed, I would then pause and just let it sit there for just like a 1 count, and then start walking the dog again. And then I was getting those secondary blow-ups. So you just gotta vary your retrieve, try different stuff, you know. Those little changes have really helped me today.
Well, we just stopped for lunch, and since we went so far into the jungle, we kind of drifted halfway. We're at a point here that they have prepared. They're gonna hang some hammocks, and that's for us to take a nap after we eat. We caught a peacock bass earlier today, nice size, so that's gonna be lunch. So this is as good as it gets. Taking a nap in the Amazon forest, surrounded by all this beauty. Having a beer, of course.
Man, you don't eat this good at restaurants. I don't know about the rest of this part, but what you are supposed to eat is their face. Get this little giblet right out of their cheek. Delicious.
Now, as far as the guides go, these guys are impressive. The way they know these rivers. I mean, there were some times when we fished all day and it got dark on us and we were heading back and we were miles and miles away, and these guys, you know, riding their boats, getting us back to the lodge in the dark with absolute confidence was really mind-blowing.
My Amazon adventure is awesome. We were having a great time. Catching a bunch of fish. We still haven't caught the big ones, but we've sorely made up for it with some quantity and a lot of blow-ups, and you know, it's all been top water, which is always exciting. So cool. I mean, what an amazing place. We're just out here. I mean, you don't even see planes go over. You know, it seems like everywhere you normally would go, if nothing else, you see airplanes going over. And just nothing. We go out and fish all day and don't see another person or another boat. I mean, this is what dreams are made of. Anybody who is adventurous at all, I mean, would say, it's like, God, it'd be a dream to be able to go to the Amazon. So it really has been a dream come true to come here and experience this incredible place.